if you talk about it, you feel like you're a snake oil salesman. There's so much going on, so many improvements.
Ernie, how did you find Carnivore?
Well, I guess it all started, um, well, I suppose many years ago, really. I've always been a pretty heavy meat eater and always done well on it. But as the years progressed into my 30s and 40s, I suppose, um, I began eating more and more carbs, drinking more booze, as you do. Still had quite a an active life. I spent most of my life in the country, and it's only the last 40 years I've sort of become urbanised a bit. But even so, I was fairly active. But yeah, it was about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. My wife's been sort of on my case a bit about my belt size and stuff like that, and she was sort of concerned for my health more than I was, and as happens, she eventually got the better of me. So I started taking a bit of notice, and we had to go for a road trip locally, and I needed to get dressed up as you do, and so I went and rummaged around to find a shirt that would fit me, and lo and behold, I couldn't. So I thought, I'll just duck down to the local um, Kmart it was, and yeah, get a new shirt. So I ducked down there and trying these shirts on, and the only thing that would fit me was a 5XL. I just went, no, not going to happen. No. So it was at that point I thought, no, that's it. I'm doing something about this. And it was just uh, partway through the lockdowns, I think, that we had to have. And so we went on, did our trip. I didn't buy a shirt, so we did our trip and came back. And I just did, because she'd been talking about fasting. That's my beautiful wife. And it didn't register with me very much because I'd been blissfully ignorant for years, most of my life, about nutrition or, uh, biochemistry, anything like that. I just drifted straight past. I just sort of put stuff in my mouth as I felt like, and dealt with it. And anyway, we came back, and I just thought, I still had that thought in my head. I was fairly bloody minded about it, and I just said, right, that's it. So I just did a 24-hour fast. Sorry, 48-hour fast. I didn't eat for 2 days, and I thought, yeah, this is a way to get started, but I'd better sort of do a bit of research on this because maybe there's something else I need to know. And so I got onto YouTube and, well, after Googling fasting and stuff like that, ended up watching quite a bit of Sten Ekberg's podcast. He was into fasting and low carb, and I followed him for a couple of months, but that sort of gradually led into others down the proverbial rabbit hole. The guy that caught my attention eventually was Ken Berry, um, and he was sort of at that point still promoting ketovore type stuff, and I think was moving more towards carnivore. That was my perception, anyhow. I'd been eating heavy meat and just a few vegetables, and staying away from bread and booze and all the rest of that sort of stuff, which coincidentally I found easy to do once I got rid of all the most of the carbs. Yeah, I was having a meal one day with my wife, and I was thinking about this keto thing and the vegetables, and how they could be a bit of an issue because they convert into sugar and this sort of thing. All this was new information to me. I had no idea. I mean, I'd couldn't have told you the difference between a carb and a protein and a fat a couple of years ago. I was quite ignorant. Um, so I just said to my dear wife, I said, "Look, bugger this, I'm just gonna go carnivore." And she sort of looked at me and with a knowing look and nodded, and I just basically did it at that point. And so I've been mainly eating meat, eggs, quite a lot of eggs, but just mainly meat, eggs, and but occasionally there's the odd break out into a vegetable. I'm a bit of a beetroot grower here, but I've stopped eating them. I used to eat a lot of them, and now I'm just giving them away. So occasionally I might have a beetroot or an orange off the tree, but rarely. Um, but as far as breads and rice and that sort of stuff, that's all gone. Um, and I just, as I did it, I'll go back a bit because about 15 years ago, I did about nearly 12 months on the Atkins diet, which I'd been aware of for since I think about 2023 when I read Gary Taubes's post on what if it's all been a big fat lie, which I found fascinating. And it wasn't until later that I got the book, and then about 2009, I read the book and then did an Atkins run for 12 months, lost a heap of weight, and then decided that I could keep doing it and go back and eat what I'd been eating, which of course doesn't work. So anyhow, fast forward to where we are now. Um, so going on to mainly carnivore, the benefits are just crazy. And I mean, I've heard it before, and no doubt you have that. It's it's like if you talk about it, you feel like you're a snake oil salesman. There's so much going on, so many improvements that it just feels crazy. Like I've had chronic back pain since I was a kid. I had a bit of a wreck playing football and wrecked my shoulder, and that's come back. It was okay, but I've been sort of going to a chiropractor for maybe 3 or 4 times a year for the last, I don't know, 10, 15 years. And pretty near all of that back pain I had from there resolved after a couple of months on carnivore. I used to be a shearer and like sheep shearing, and I had arthritis in my hands. Now, within a couple of weeks, that improved and it's pretty much resolved as well now. You know, and that's the interesting part about that too is whenever I do fall off the wagon, like occasionally I have this really crazy passion for a bit of ice cream, I might go and buy an ice cream and eat it. And next day, my hands are sore. It's, you know, why do you do it? Why do you do it? But it's a good learning curve. It's a reminder that this stuff is not doing you any good. I'm just I can't imagine how I would have. I can't imagine how I used to feel because I must have been in a pretty poor state for most of the time with what I was eating, and now I can just if I revisit that way of eating and I revisit the pain and stuff again. But yeah, I've had a broken leg and osteonecrosis in two knees and hip. Um, one of those osteonecrosis things it resolved, but it's still hanging around. But the pain from that, I suppose, resolved by about 80%. It still reminds me every now and again that it's been an issue, but it's only occasional. It's very doable. When I broke my leg, um, actually stepped into a hole on a dam bank. We were catching some marron one night, and I went over and snapped my tibia and fibia, and that that repaired itself. That was okay, but I wrecked my ankle doing it because it twisted it. And when I was complaining about this to doctors and physios and that for 12 months or more, and they were x-raying and said, no, there's nothing wrong with it, nothing wrong with it. I was in pain and there was something wrong with it, but anyhow, it couldn't be seen. But it took about 12 months on this diet, maybe a little bit more, and that pain is basically all gone. It's just it's really improved. I've had things like eyesight's improved. We went for a trip a couple of months back, and I kept on cleaning my glasses because I was getting a bit blurry. I couldn't see as well as I should. So I got home and I sort of was cleaning them again, and I had some other glasses from years gone by when I was sort of progressively getting blinder and blinder. And I noticed when I changed the glasses or between putting one pair down and then putting another pair on, I thought I can see a bit better actually. And well, eventually I found a pair from I don't know 5, 6 years ago. Would have been a weaker strength, I imagine, and I've been wearing them ever since because they are much better. I actually just put my latest pair on half an hour ago, and yeah, very blurry, like they've got crap all over them. So yeah, that was just another thing. But there's oh god, so much tendon pain I've had, and that's gone. Oh, I lost 33 kilos in 5 months. The first 5 months of that diet too. And kept it off. I mean, it's down to the base level now. I won't mention what that is because I've still got another probably 10 or 15 to lose, but I'm sort of stuck there and I'm not that concerned about it. So, yeah, so I've got down to that base level and I might vary up or down 1.5 kilo if I misbehave or if I eat a lot less, I'll just go up and down a bit, but always comes back to the same and no effort at all. Of course, the hunger is mainly all gone. Um, yeah, it's just I
That's
don't know. It's fantastic. Yeah,
that's awesome. I like how you mentioned you feel like a snake oil salesman because there's so many things have improved,
yeah.
but it's a kind of a funny snake oil salesman because we've got nothing to sell.
No, no, you can't make money out of it. No. Yeah, actually, I wrote a list. Actually, I won't. Yeah, but there's a list. I think there's here 18 things on the list that improved, and even other people's moods seemed to improve when I went on this diet because they didn't seem to be as snappy and nasty as they used to be. Yeah, but yeah, like anxiety levels are much less than they were. I mean, I think we all suffer from a bit of that, but I mean now it's sort of pretty chilled out. Um, where things I would be concerned about previously is just bad luck about that. Um,
So
yeah,
how does your wife feel about all this?
well, she's very happy about it. She is. She was the one that sort of pushed me into it, and I mean, very grateful to her for that because I won't say happily bubbling along, but I wasn't concerned until I got that 5XL moment. Um, and she'd been on my case for a while before that, so um, yeah, that was all right. But she's very supportive. She's actually quite a sugar addict, and because she started eating honey because that was better than sugar when she's trying to sort of improve herself a bit, but still struggling with it a little. I think she's sugar and carbs, but she used to suffer from headaches constantly. And it wasn't just me. I mean, it was something else. So anyhow, we eventually, well, she eventually decided that she's going to give up sugar, and in doing so, she gave up the headaches as well. So that was big, a big moment. Um, and she does, she has got fibromyalgia and different other things that sort of slow her down a bit. But no, she's eating a fairly clean diet. I suppose you could say she's a dirty keto just about, but as I might be a dirty carnivore. But yeah, we don't, apart from the odd ice cream or, yeah, it's mainly the odd ice cream. That's about our only diversion. Maybe once a month, maybe not. But
Yeah.
apart from that, no, we're living a fairly clean life, and
Mm.
and it's just easy. I mean, I do most of the shopping, and I duck down to the local supermarket, and I'm looking around for something to buy. There's only go and get. Well, I don't buy meat there. I buy that from a another supermarket that does a lot of bulk meat, and I can get it fairly cheap. So, but the local one here, it's bacon, butter, milk. You still have a bit of milk and cheese, but I don't come home with any packets or boxes of stuff.
Do you get any funny looks when you're going through the register and you've got no boxes and it's all just like it's meat stacked up and eggs?
No, no, I just serve myself. I don't bother about the checkouts too much. So just go and slam it through. But when I bought some meat, I mean, a couple of months ago, the last big shop I did on meat, I think I had about, I don't know, 50 kilos of meat or something I was wandering out with. And the girl on the checkout did say something about you having a party or something. I said, no, mine. Yeah, right.
No, it's just my dinner.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's just. I mean, as people have said before, it's so freeing to have a bit of control over what you're doing in your life, and being able to see through the fog of what we've been told to eat, what we've been encouraged to eat. Just the paradigm of carbs and giving away. That what not giving away, but I mean that's polluting our original diet. I mean, I grew up in the 50s. I was 52. I was born, so you know, until I was about 30, I suppose I didn't really see takeaway food shops or supermarkets. So you know, and it was only really around the 30s that I started to put on weight because I had more options of eating other grub and the rest of the stuff. So yeah, it's just really good to be able to be in control of your life and your eating.
So day to day, how are you eating? Is it one meal a day, two meals a day, and what are they made up of?
Well, I did start on one meal a day and fairly consistent with that, but I do occasionally have breakfast. I mean, I'm usually asleep by 8 o'clock at night, so often I'll wake up at 3 or 4 in the morning. I'll get up and generally onto YouTube and slam a few podcasts down because that keeps me going. But if I do that in the morning, yeah, I can get a bit peckish in the morning, so I might have half a dozen eggs, and that'll sort of tide me over until 2 or 3 when I'll have a piece of steak and more eggs generally. I eat pretty much the same as my dog does. I've got this this dog. He's a blue heeler, and he likes meat. But yeah, we eat the same thing. We just have meat and eggs, the both of us. We had three dogs before that used to live on dog nuts, and they all died of cancer or had to be put down with, with cancer. And when I got this last dog, I had got him nearly 6 years old now, and I made a bit of a pact with him. I said, I'm going to last longer than you. So he had 15 years to go, and I was about 69 or no, it must have been 68, something like that at the time. And I figured I'd last till I was about early 80s or somewhere around that. So, you know, we dog and I both changed our diets. And the other thing, since doing that, my view of the future has extended somewhat. I thought, no, I'll probably last a lot longer than early 80s. I can't see why I wouldn't get to be 90. So it's just that, just sort of not accepting that downhill slide that seems to infect most people as they get into their later years, I suppose you'd say.
The nice thing is you can think, okay, well, maybe I'm going to make it to 90 and it's going to be a good 90, not a wheelchair bound 90 kind of
Yep.
thing, not a,
Yep.
being looked after 90.
Yeah. In my view of the future is sort of going like that, and then I no fear of death, but I just don't want to be there when it happens. So I want to stay healthy until I die.
So have you had anyone around you kind of say, what's this crazy thing you're doing? Why are you only eating meat and eggs?
Well, yes and no. They don't say there's a lot of neighbours and relatives that are sort of watching me, I know, and don't know, they're waiting for me to fall off the perch or have a heart attack or something like that. But one of my sons has gone on to carnivore, and I mean he was always a meat eater, but um, about 3 years ago, just before I started this diet, I bought a boat, just a little tinny, and because we live on the coast and there's a river there, and um, son and I took the boat out. We went out to launch it, got it in the water, and I had to get into the damn thing. And the condition I was in, then I'd sort of sit down on the jetty and sort of roll into the boat. And my son was sort of watching, going, "Oh hell, I hope he doesn't kill himself." And but anyhow, that that's the way it was. But uh, like in the last year, when we take it out, I was pretty much step off the jetty straight into the boat, and I'm sort of, I'd say I'm as agile as he is pretty much now. Um, he might dispute that, but uh, yeah, there's been a big improvement in balance and agility, that sort of thing. And I tripped over a bush out in the garden there a few weeks ago, and it wasn't a big issue. I just sort of bounced and got back up again. And yeah, there's other stuff I've noticed too, like in the pain area. Like if I ever, which I did occasionally, sort of get on the end of a shovel and shovel dirt and stuff into a wheelbarrow and push it around. I had to do that recently, and I knew that I was going to be in pain after it for a significant period of time, probably another trip to the chiropractor. And I got up next day and I'm thinking, where is it? And no, I was good. There was no pain, and there hasn't been any pain, but there should have been, because I was, shoveling and twisting and throwing into the wheelbarrow and all the things you shouldn't do. And it was just all good. And I mean, for my age and that, well, last time I went to the chiro, which was about 3 years ago now, and he'd done X-rays and stuff on me and telling me about all these uh, discs and that were fusing together and all this sort of stuff. And I sort of said, "What's the outlook?" He said, "Oh, well," he said, "you're going to be in pain," but he said, "Well, I'll be able to manage it for you." And that was the last time I saw him. I mean, I considered to be a good chiro, and he was, good at his work and kept me going. But to say, since I've gotten rid of all the carb and I guess the seed oils as well and that sort of thing, um, well, good. I haven't seen him. I've been going to go and visit him as a bit of a social event, but I haven't yet. But I will, because he's a good bloke and he's got to pay for his car and that.
Nice. Um, if you had to give someone advice about getting started with carnivore, say a friend expressed interest in doing it, what advice would you give them?
I would advice. I don't like giving advice because it's always my opinion, but yeah, um, what I'd suggest they do is to find a good reason why they wanted to do it. So, you'd have to point out or get them to decide why they wanted to do it. That'd be something they wanted to improve. Then research it, go on YouTube, all the research on there, and I'd give them, a list of names and stuff like that to lead them in the direction that I've been in. And I mean, I've been researching this for 2.5 years now, and I've sort of managed to sift through most of the proponents and get rid of a few. I mean, there's a lot of them some of them that are selling product, and that usually turns me right off anyhow straight away. It's ones that aren't selling products that are more believable. But yeah, that's what I'd be doing. I'd be just saying, find out the reason to do it and research it. It'd be up to themselves whether they're going to jump straight in or ease into it. That's a personal decision, I think.
Nice. So Ernie, is there a way that people can reach out to you? Do you have any social media or any way to get in contact?
Just the email account that I'm sure you've got, which you can put in the notes. But no, I don't go any further than that. I used to be on Facebook, but I found that was getting a bit too personal, and I think I could have got myself into trouble if I had stayed on it for too long. Yeah. Um, no, just the email account, and if anyone wants to contact me, they're quite welcome to.
No worries. Well, I'll include your email in the show notes. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story, Ernie. I really
That's
appreciate your time.
no, thank you, Dave. Too. It's guys like you and like Eric Westman. I saw you on his show the other day too. Um, that putting a voice of reason into all this and making it available to the public and including the public in their shows. So yeah, it's you ought to be congratulated as well.